Yeah, he looked great independently, but as a group, they looked very
Oh,
confused.
you want more unity? You want more unity with the group and coordination?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cause our
yeah.
time and our clothes gotta coordinate. That's a ludicrous lyric. Just came to my mind. I don't know.
Sorry, I only
I,
know like two ludicrous lyrics. Uh, who's your weed man? How do you smoke so good? He's a superstar boy. Why he's still up in the
but he smokes so good.
hood. Good. Welcome to The Floor Is Ours. This is our kind of dating show. My name's Luke Bellany. I'm a Traitors super fan coming from RuPaul and from Survivor a little bit.
My name's Max Bass, and I'm a summer house guy, but I also dabble in a bunch of other reality shows. Came here via really my girlfriend, but I guess via her, it's via Vanderpump, Housewives, a little bit of Bachelor, Love Island, and a few others. Started in season two, but really enjoying season three. And Luke, that ending was everything we could have asked for.
Peak wholesome. Maximum amount of faithfuls winning. No perfect eliminations. And some of our predictions were dead on. Just to pat ourselves on the back a little bit because good, to get a couple of those right from the outside.
It felt good. It gave some credibility to the pod. It gives some credibility to the pod. Our listeners know now that when they listen to us and in between episodes that they're getting a take that could be rock solid, that has some real insight behind it. We're building a reputation as connoisseurs, experts even.
Strat chat is for winners. You can't strat
Stretch
chat and lose.
Strat chat is for winners. But before we get to strat chat, Luke, it's time for our very last player of the week. Who impressed you in this finale?
I'm gonna go. She's been a rock throughout. I'm sticking to Gabby. Kept an open mind throughout the entire time. Even when she was being buttered up, she gave us that unanimous vote that we wanted to see to get Brit out.
I couldn't agree more. Gabby was on my list as one of the contenders, and luckily I have other options, so I'm not boxed in this time. But Gabby, I mean, granted it was last episode, but coming off of an incredible performance at the round table, coming into an episode where it seemed like she had suspicion. She was Brittany's number one target. She had suspicion from season long suspicion from Dylan, who couldn't connect with her. Um, Really, she only needed one. She, that could have gotten her banished, right? Like one more vote, and she could have been um, expelled from the castle. But she doubled down on relationships. She doubled down on teamwork, and she did the right thing in voting for Britt. To your point, and it paid off. It paid off. I was so happy to see that. I was so happy for her. Low key though, she says in the episode that she could use the money to get married in a little interview with Alan before you see the winners. And I know you said you're off the grid off Instagram, but if you were on Instagram, you would have seen that Gabby posted for the fact that she got married. She posted those photos before this episode. And so the second she said that,
Oh, all right. Connecting the dots, spoiling yourself.
look,
I'd also like to just say sometimes the player of the week is a little bit of personal branding as well. And I thought the periodic table comment was the best tongue in
incredible.
cheek moment that we've had since Tom.
Incredible.
Tom was perfect tongue in cheek, whether he knew it or not.
Had no idea. Had no idea.
Gabby knew. Gabby knew.
Gabby was well aware.
She
Gabby's
was
well aware.
100% aware because she thought about it. She was like, I'm not gonna say multiplication tables. I'm gonna say periodic table and just fuck with people. I liked it.
Gabby is much smarter than people give her credit for. And she deserved that win, and I'm so happy for her. Um, my player of the week, I got to be honest, I was going to go with Dylan, but I'm going to give it to Dolores. And I'm giving it to Dolores because after a season of voting incorrectly consistently, after a season of going on her own missions, after Tom, after Ivar, voting alone, independently, really seeming like she doesn't listen to anything said at the round table and just doing what she had in her mind before anyone said anything. Dolores voted for Brittany, and Dolores did the right thing at the fire and believed in the people around her, including Ivar, who she doubted seemingly up until that point. And so I'm going to go, my player of the week is Dolores for a wholesome change of heart.
I I like that you're calling her wholesome because I'm pretty sure she gave the most explicit bodily harm threats that we've seen in the entire show.
Or whatever she said
I will
in the
kill
church,
you.
I'm coming for you, motherfuckers. She I mean, and she's a corrections officer.
Right.
That's her career. Yeah, that was her career, or is her career outside of all this. So she's badass. Despite the fact that she was a little bit of a dog with a bone, chasing the wrong things, but she's badass. She's a decent human, and she made for excellent TV come that finale. I believe, was she the last one to have her? Was she the last one to have her thing thrown into the fire?
No, Dylan was because
It was Dylan.
he
Okay.
gave
Okay.
himself
Yeah.
a pregnant pause afterwards. He
Yeah.
gave
Okay.
himself the long
Yeah.
pause, and everyone got
But
upset with him
that was in
because
that was in revealing whether he was a traitor or faithful or not.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But
I don't know if they
as
win the same award, but either way, it was great. It was great to see. It was great to
uh,
see.
other Dolores highlights, aggressively chugging water at the banishment table is always a good thing to see. And it's really rare that we see someone do one of those talking heads where they say, I'm going to stop voting with my heart and start voting with my head and actually get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess voting with her heart meant she was voting emotionally for Ivar and Tom. Tom, I understand, but I don't know what Lord Ivar did to her to make her feel so in her heart that he had to go. But we'll put that aside. Luke, it's time to chat strat. What caught your eye this week? You said you had a lot of strategy feedback or thoughts.
Danielle was right that it was an embarrassing decision for her to keep Brit. Just embarrassing. Out of all the people she could have recruited, even just killing Brit would have been a better tactic than recruiting Brit. Recruiting Brit was just absolutely terrible decision, and Danielle earned her banishment. Getting the converse of the uh, deadpan, well, I guess I'm doing this to her again, which is Danielle saying, well, I guess you're doing this to me again, was deserved an earned moment. And Danielle's right that that was an embarrassing strategic decision on her part.
She, after spending the entire season and her entire defense being, why would I kill, like, everyone I've killed has been close to me, like why would I have killed those people? The way that she played Brit was incredibly foolish. What better opportunity for her to set herself up for another waterworks show than to kill Brit and then quiver and tremble and cry about her best friend leaving the game after building a relationship with her? Really would have solidified her as more of a faithful, but I think she got caught up in her feelings and wrote herself a story about riding off into the sunset with this woman after getting screwed. And guess what? You done got screwed again.
I my question to you though, this is the last piece for Danielle. Did she adhere to the traitor's vow? She went to each of the
Oh,
other th- four
yeah.
people at that point and she said something really nice about Dylan and then she said thank you, thank you, thank you, and then wow, something like that, right? And,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it,
I hear what you're
it
saying. Did she adhere to the traitor's vow? She she definitely, I mean, was clearly emotional. She definitely that stuck in people's mind. Um, but it's hard for me to argue that she did anything different than Bob when he was exiting, going after Rob and saying all that shit, or Carolyn. I mean, like it you just kind of expect to see it's just been a thing. It's been a thing for seasons. Um, I
there's a really fuzzy line
the
there
fact
that
that
I feel like it was
the
on
fact that she
edge.
did it the fact that she did it in the circle of truth and didn't do it just in the general roundtable banter, I think was a little bit of line crossing. But you have to realize that these people are in it. They're so in the show, and they aren't looking at things from a 10,000 foot view like we are, knowing who's who. And so I think it was much easier for us to recognize that that was out of bounds than them. Although it did come up as evidence against Britt in her roundtable and was used to banish her. Um,
So I think Brit tactically played a great game up until the round table, right? I thought Gabby was high risk, but she did the game theory out well, and Dylan clearly didn't do that game theory out well. It was like the
he
show was
was
giving us an example of, hey, here's someone who can do the game theory, and here's someone who can't do the game theory, because Dylan explained it. He was like, well, if she comes back and she says she's a traitor, we're going to vote both of them out. And if she comes and I have no idea what to do if she comes back and says she's a faithful. And Britt had seen that already. Britt played the seer part of her role really well,
she
despite Gabby being high risk. I think Gabby
she
was a high risk choice there.
she did she did, but I also think that Brittany's best chance to win this game was to vote for Ivar, leave it to chance to see if her and Danielle could make it to the end, and try as best she could to win with her traitor friend, because she'd al- though it wasn't brought up in evidence necessarily, she'd already exposed herself by voting with Danielle the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Danielle is not going to go out clean and just, especially after Brittany knowingly betrays her again. And Brittany was showing real emotions in having betrayed her again, and so she exposed herself as well. And quite frankly, it just it just was like it just was a little bit predictable, as we talked about in the last episode. And I do, however, the last thing I'll say is, excuse me, I do think that the Brittany versus Dylan debate, I think the editors really played with that to make us to play up the suspense and keep us watching once again, much like leaving Danielle's exit to the finale, because otherwise this was a pretty formulaic episode. I loved it, but it was formulaic.
Yeah, it really gave us all closure that we wanted. Uh, If I were in Britt's position, I think I would have done Seer on Ivar and come back with him as a traitor just to throw a bigger curveball, because you weren't getting Dylan on your side, but you could have gotten you, so that because you couldn't get Dylan on your side, figure that you needed to get Gabby and Dolores on your side, and the only way to do that was going to be Ivar, I think,
100%.
and the bigger swing. Um, the issue that popped up is the same one that always comes up, which is don't come back at your accuser. Britt
100%.
came right back at Dylan. She had one tactic in her mind about how I'm going to do this. And
And
as
she planned
soon
for it
as
all day. She planned for it all
all
day.
day, all day, as soon as Dylan accused her, she should have switched to Ivar. She should have said, hey,
Who she
I
voted
totally
for
understand all of
passionately.
this. Yeah, I understand all of this, but I'm gonna look towards someone we haven't spent as much time looking at. And
I'm a
if
faith.
Right. If we
I'm
feel
a
like all
faithful,
five of us,
and I need all of you to get with me to vote Ivar out because he's the one. 100%. Lord Ivar had to go. But she didn't. Luke, I want to talk actually about one piece of strategy that is actually a viewership strategy that I've been executing over the past couple of Trader seasons. Um, I think the editors do everything they can to try to, keep us from knowing who's going to vote for who. But I like to watch what letters people might be making on the chalkboard. And I got to be honest, I knew Dolores voted for Brittany. I saw her cross the T's, and I knew it. I knew it. I called it during the episode, and I was right. And it's not the first time I've done that in Traders before. And every time I've done it, every time I've been confident about it, I've been right. I did it a couple times during season 2. I did it once earlier this season. And this episode, when I watched Dolores cross those T's, they let me see too much. And so there's a little bit of viewership strategy. They're scouting social media, seeing that Gabby got married, hearing the comment, putting 2 and 2 together, and then watching the chalkboard and seeing what people write. And so I'll encourage viewers of Traders to, you know, you can save yourself from some of these cliffhangers, even if it's just a commercial break, by just, keeping a sharp eye out for how people are writing on the chalkboard.
I bet you look up the Wikipedia for movies before you watch them.
I
Terrible.
don't. I don't.
Terrible take.
I do
Terrible
not.
take.
I'm a
Um,
Sherlock. I'm Sherlock
I
Holmes. I'm out here looking for clues.
I will agree that we need a Peacock cut more than anything else
Yep.
because there are definitely a couple of climactic moments that they could have really benefited from just having a straight cut to it instead of a non-commercial
Yeah.
commercial break. And the, it just doesn't make sense in Traders, right? I watch a lot of Pop Culture Jeopardy, and it has some natural breaks in it where Colin Jost has to get up and say, "And now we're gonna take a break," or whatever this is. But they're conscious of it, they joke about it, right? You have to know, otherwise it's this obtuse thing that feels like it's left over from a bygone era, and you're like, I can't deal with this. So
It's on. Yeah.
there,
They got a prime edit, right?
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Luke. It's time for what would you do? You're a faithful. One of 4. You're at the fire. You don't know if the other 3 are faithfuls or not. Are you throwing green or are you throwing red?
In this particular scenario, this is my vindictive side coming out, but I'm throwing red and I'm going after Ivar hard. He's a British royal. If the little Chiron shows up and says aristocrat underneath you, yeah, I'm trying to take $20,000 off of your plate. You don't even know what that is. It's not even in pounds, man. Like you don't know what a dollar is worth. If I told you how many bananas you're going to be able to buy with that, you'd have no idea at all.
I I feel similarly. Even though you're exposed as the individual who voted red, I don't think that necessarily means you're a traitor. And I think that in this case, especially if it were a scenario like this, where the bonds between these 4 were very loose, they were not really tight all year, aside from Dylan and Ivar. There's plenty of grounds to get someone out and increase the prize pot for yourself, which tease, we'll have a rule change episode where we discuss some of this, and I think there's some changes that can be made, especially with increased viewership here, that could make this a little bit more entertaining at the end. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm throwing red. I'm risking it all, um, and I just the 4-way split just isn't for me. I love the wholesome ending. As a viewer, it's what I wanted, but as a player, I just feel like I left something on the table.
None of them earned title of gamer,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
They're all just like friends who like
When
did
Dylan
something
was like,
together.
"Oh, I'm a better person now," I'm like, "Yeah, but you still suck at the game. You're
Yeah.
Dylan. You're not good at this. You won. I'm gonna give you that you won, but I don't think you're that good at this. I don't think you should be brought back for All Stars."
I felt like they were continuing to try to prove to each other that they were faithful even after it didn't matter anymore. And it was just like you guys, like But I guess
That's why
that just
Dylan got that after clip. That after clip that was like, Dylan, stop playing the game. It's over.
I guess it just proves that they are all really genuinely good people, which again warms my heart. It's wholesome, but the gamer in me says, go for it all.
The saddest part about this is that because we've put this out publicly, Gabby probably won't be friends with us because she basically gave a straight shot to CT, which was like, I'd rather win with more people rather than just be greedy. It's like, all right, someone watched season 2 and disagreed with CT on that play.
Let's call it MJ's revenge. Let's call it MJ's revenge. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like, give us a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Apple or Spotify, make sure to follow us, download the pod, support us. We appreciate you.
Maybe yeah.
No rule changes. No,
okay,
stop trying to sneak rule changes in here. We have a whole episode to talk about rule changes.
Ivar had an absolutely spectacular day, and also probably should have made a case for himself on player of the week. He had the best SmackDown of Brit. She was like, do you think I'm meeker than them? And he was like, yes, I think you're meeker than all of them.
Listen to Bob, Rob, Danielle. Yes, you're meek.